On Capitol Hill, a senator promises to revive legislation that would give whistleblowers legal cover to talk about recovered biologics. A congresswoman says she's working with the White House on outright amnesty. And MIT's Lincoln Laboratory has agreed to hand over a 74-year-old recording tied to the weekend UFOs buzzed the Capitol back in 1952. That same congresswoman spent this week reopening one of the CIA's darkest chapters, hauling historians and a retired case officer in front of Congress to explain how the agency spent 20 years dosing Americans with LSD without their consent, then burned the paperwork when it was over. And her task force says it just learned about a CIA safe house in Germany where some of those subjects were allegedly tortured. Meanwhile, in New Mexico, a family is digging through a national forest that a private investigator says has never actually been searched. And it turns out another man who vanished from the same lab spent his last known weeks obsessing over whether matter can exist in two places at once. And a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense says a military base couldn't keep unidentified objects out of its own airspace for 17 straight days. All of it happened in the last 2 weeks. Welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole.
Imagine that this line represents time. Present 1985, future, past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate, you, me, and Einstein. Look, reality for everyone else.
What's up, everyone? I'm Jeremy Sosha, and you're listening to Infinite Rabbit Hole, your weekly briefing on the unexplained. Now, tonight's episode will be slightly different, as we took last week off from the news briefing format to enjoy the 4th of July with our families. So tonight, we will be presenting 2 weeks' worth of fringe news for you to ponder over. And I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jake and CJ, as we get ready to unravel another stacked episode for you. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcast. And as always, make sure you visit us at infiniterabbithole.com, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Before we get into it, there are a couple of quick things to go over. On July 18th, less than a week away from this episode going live, I'll be presenting at the MUFON, Wisconsin meeting at the Waukesha Airport. And on July 24th and 25th, I will be at Elmwood UFO Days presenting and leading bus tours throughout the day with my co-host Jake wandering around doing whatever Jake does. And if you're in Menominee, Wisconsin, stop by 2 great local shops downtown, TC Vintage, where you'll find official IRH t-shirts and copies of my book, UF Elmwood, and Dragon Tales books on Main Street, also carrying copies of UF Elmwood. Go say hi and support local shops. Jake, CJ, how are we tonight, gentlemen?
Glad to be here tonight. This week has been very rough.
No.
Yeah, our fridge took its final crap on us. It's dead on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, my truck broke down.
Damn. It took its last dump on you, huh?
Yeah.
Did it do it on your chest?
Did it right on my face. Actually did it right on my wallet because it took all the food with it. Yeah, that was fun. Open up the fridge in the morning and it says 60 degrees in there and everything is done. And it's like, this is nice.
Yeah. I hope you learned your lesson. You know what they say.
Don't take dumps on fridges where they dump on you.
That's right.
That's what they say.
They always say it too.
Also, right here, look at these.
Ooh.
I've been mass producing UFO models. I have 18 of them so far, these fridge magnets we've been talking about. So I will be taking some of them over with Jeremy and myself when we go to MUFON, the MUFON thing at the Waukesha Airport. And then I'll see how they do. If people like them, I don't know. We'll see. And then when we do the UFO days, I'll probably have a lot more sitting at the booth. So if you stop by our booth at UFO days, you'll be able to find merch. So t-shirts, Jeremy's book, and then these UFO models for George Wheeler's UFO encounter from 1976.
Booyah merch.
Booyah merch.
CJ,
What's up?
how are you doing?
No,
Fantastic.
I'm in the same boat as Jake, man. I'm so glad this week is done. It's been a miserable 7 days.
Man, my work week's just starting.
Dude, last weekend, my kid decided from Thursday evening until Sunday morning that the entire family needed to be as miserable as possible, as children do sometimes. Then Sunday, he's an angel out of nowhere, and we're like, there's a disturbance in the force. And one of my fiance's family dogs passes away.
Oof.
Yeah, not great. Not great. It was pretty miserable. I go to work. I work for morons. It's not great. So now I'm here.
Hopefully they don't listen to the Infinite Rabbit.
I've told them to their faces that I think they're morons. I'm not worried about it. I will send them a link to this episode when you upload it. I don't.
Good, because I'm leaving that in.
Yeah, put their names and addresses and phone numbers, dox them on the show, so that we all know who these morons are, so we know never to interact with them if we can help it.
I work for a company who is more interested in hiring family members into higher positions than they are in properly managing a company.
Yeah, it happens.
That'll happen
It
in
does.
these bigger jobs.
Yeah, it does. If it weren't for the paycheck, I'd have been long gone.
Well, a little bit of good news for the podcast, specifically for me. I got a promotion at work, which is awesome. New position. It's me a first time ever working a Monday through Friday gig. Right now, I work what's called a 2-2-3 schedule. So I work 13 hours from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday 1 week. And then the next week, I work Wednesday and Thursday. And I've been doing that for 4 years now, on top of getting out of the military, which that schedule is just whatever they want it to be. The good thing in how this correlates to Infinite Rabbit Hole is that I will have a much more steady schedule, and I could probably start doing things on a actual schedule instead of just whenever I can. I know that from the listener's point of view, it looks like we put out episodes every Tuesday, which is what we do. But trust me, making that happen sucks. And now that won't be such a big issue on my side of things, and should be able to get out some really good content and some cool ideas I have for the future that, if I were to ever get a job like this, then we could do. So I'm looking forward to it. So CJ, Jake, get ready to put in overtime on Infinite Rabbit Hole.
We should go
Sounds
live
good.
on YouTube sometime.
We used to, and honestly, now that I have this new position, that is a good possibility. That's a good possibility. Maybe we'll hammer down a date and time every single week, which is better, something better for everyone, and start going live again. I'd like to go live again. That was fun.
It was fun.
Well, you guys ready for quick hits?
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into our main stories tonight, let's run through quick hits, our rapid roundup of the stories from the last 2 weeks that deserve your attention, even if we don't have time to go deep on them. Let's go. Scientists in a Minnesota laboratory have built what they're calling Spud Cell, the first artificial cell with a complete life cycle, assembled entirely from known chemical components. It's a microscopic water droplet enclosed in a fatty membrane, carrying a minimal set of just 36 genes borrowed partly from E. coli and partly from DNA viruses. And it can feed, grow, divide, replicate its own genome, and even outcompete its own siblings through something resembling natural selection. Its creator, Dr. Kate Adamala, is careful to say it isn't truly alive, but the New York Times reported it has most of the hallmarks of life. And one detail makes the whole thing more interesting. A version of this research was previously rejected by the journal Cell after a reviewer said it simply wasn't real biology. Whatever you call it, something built from scratch in a lab is now growing, competing, and reproducing on its own. Moving on. A Michigan man known as Snake the Bigfoot Hunter is back in the news, claiming he has scientific proof that Bigfoot is real, and the claim is stranger than the usual blurry photo variety. Charles Stewart says the 8-foot, 300-pound body he found while camping in New York's Adirondack Mountains back in 2024 has now been DNA tested at Cornell's veterinary DNA lab, and the results allegedly came back 58.5% Neanderthal. And Stewart's theory is that Bigfoot isn't an ape at all, but a surviving human Neanderthal hybrid that slipped into North America before the Bering Land Bridge closed. It's worth saying plainly that none of this has been independently verified. There's no published methodology, and the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization's own Matt Moneymaker called Stewart a hoaxer back before any of this DNA claim ever surfaced. Stewart plans to take the body on tour later this year. Stay tuned. Moving on. Season 7 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch kept circling all summer without much payoff. 100 drones swarmed, some buried ceramics, a force field nobody could fully explain until a Navajo shaman ceremony at Homestead 2 apparently lit the instruments up before he'd even finished. The most recent episode sent the team back to the center of it all, the site they call the bubble, building directly off LiDAR data suggesting the ranch's 3 hottest zones might actually be connected. If that holds up, every strange reading from the past several weeks stops looking like a separate mystery and starts looking like pieces of the same puzzle. Moving on. Physicists have found a way to make a quantum system appear to run backwards in time. In our everyday world, time is a one-way street. A dropped coffee mug shatters, and it never spontaneously pieces itself back together, a term we call entropy, by the way. This is because nature naturally moves towards disorder at the subatomic level. However, the rules change. The fundamental math of physics works exactly the same whether time goes forward or backward. Usually, the simple act of looking at or measuring a quantum particle disrupts it, forcing it to choose a direction and locking in a forward arrow of time. But by using incredibly fast measurements, instant feedback loops, and precisely engineered forces, researchers at Los Alamos National Laboratory have learned to undo this disruption. They effectively forced a quantum system to retrace its steps, mimicking a time reversal path. Even more surprising, because the act of observing a quantum particle actually injects energy into it. The researchers found a way to catch and harvest that energy, turning the setup into a tiny high-tech battery. While this doesn't mean humans can travel to the past, it gives scientists a brand new way to reset quantum computers, wipe out errors, and prove that at the deepest layers of reality, time is far more flexible than we ever imagined. Moving on. Researchers have detected clear signs of quantum entanglement inside a crystal large enough to hold in your hand. Not a subatomic particle, not something requiring a super collider to observe, but a centimeter-sized object you could set on a table. The finding shows that quantum behavior, long assumed to wash out any scale bigger than a molecule, can persist in structures large enough for us to see and touch. Pair that with the backward-running quantum clock, and you've got 2 separate teams this month finding that the rules of governing the smallest scales of reality reach further into our world than anyone expected. Jake, CJ, artificial life that grows and competes. A DNA claim that Bigfoot is part Neanderthal, Skinwalker Ranch circling back to the bubble, and 2 separate quantum experiments bending time and scale in ways nobody predicted. What's sticking with you before we get into the main stories?
It's hard for me to agree that life was created from scratch when in reality they took pieces and parts from other things, because we still can't just manufacture DNA from nothing. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess, it's interesting, but it's like, it's not, it's more of a making Frankenstein's monster and then making it live versus creating life from nothing, right?
Yeah, I see that. I see
You
that
know what I'm
point.
saying?
Yeah.
The other thing I don't know if, look, I'm just going to bring it up. That freaking Bigfoot that he's claiming is a Bigfoot, I've seen this before. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, okay. This is what we're talking about. All right. This is the body. This right here is the body. As far as I know.
We've talked about this on the show before, and we've said that if that was a body, that would be absolutely decomposing underneath it.
Right. Not a chance. It would definitely look like it was made out. It's a model, or it's a big suit with a rubber mask and rubber toes, and fake nails. It would absolutely look like that, and not be decomposing in any way.
Dude, click on the picture of the guy holding the baby Bigfoot.
Didn't it's got to be what, 15 years ago now? Somebody else claimed they shot a Bigfoot and stuffed it in a cooler, and he ended up going to jail over it.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think that was longer than 15 years ago, because shit, man, I was working my second job. I was 17 or 18 years old then. And I'm old as fuck, man. I'm
You
38
are
now.
old.
Or am I 39? I don't remember. I'm 38. Yeah.
Dang,
That was,
that's
that was,
crazy.
that was
I was
20 years ago.
definitely I was over the age of 21 when that story broke because I was working at Unclaimed Freight,
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That is
friend.
crazy old,
and I'm
Jeremy.
younger than you.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you, man.
This
Also,
is interesting. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
the Bigfoot thing here, I just want to point out Cornell's stance. Cornell University has not confirmed or verified these claims.
Yes.
The university has continually declined to comment on the matter.
Well,
And
I mean,
the
hey,
university
that's
officials dismissed the claim as a hoax.
oh, okay. Well, there it is. I was gonna say that's not denial. But if they come out and dismiss it,
They said, nope, lying ass.
Well, that's a problem then, because I don't know how far into how far a company would go, or a private company, because it's a school, would go into taking someone to court over them claiming that they did something that they say they didn't, and then pressing forward with that, because if they're worried about their reputation being tarnished, or people thinking that they're just a crackpot school now, that'd be a huge problem for this guy if they decided to take him to court and sue the absolute crap out of him.
He should be more worried about federal charges because that dude who had the Bigfoot body in the cooler that turned out to be a hoax went to jail for it.
yeah, I remember they were talking about that possibly catching murder charges.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
federally illegal to kill a Bigfoot. So,
Well, actually, in some states it is.
oh,
some
you have to get, like,
provinces-
a license, right?
No, in some provinces in Canada, it's also illegal to kill a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's federal.
I don't know about the federal thing. That's
So you're
probably
saying
not
that
a thing.
that the Bigfoot body was real, and that's why he went to jail, or he went to jail
No,
because he was
no,
pretending that he killed something that was endangered?
that. Well, okay, so before they had the proof that he faked all this shit, there
Mhm.
was this huge petition going around that he should be tried for murder because we couldn't tell, or we didn't have the scientific proof that Bigfoot wasn't part human. So there was this whole thing of like, well, what if this thing is a hybrid? What if this thing is just like this one guy fucked this one monkey and they made the big feats.
All right, so I stand partially corrected. There's not technically a legal thing that says specifically you can't kill Bigfoot, but it falls under blanket wildlife laws as being under the unlisted rule. It's not listed as a game species. You can't hunt it, except for Texas. A few states like Texas, non-protected, non-game
Texas and
animals can be
Oklahoma.
legally hunted on private property with the landlord's permission.
That we covered years ago. Jake, you probably
I
remember
believe
this.
so.
In Oklahoma, they made it legal to hunt Bigfoot because they thought the state congressperson who brought it up thought it would be a good way to prove the existence of Bigfoot, get people out there
Right.
actually looking for it, and therefore we sacrifice killing one to prove its existence. Not
Mhm.
that I agree with that stance, right? I don't want anybody listening here saying that we're condoning going out and killing big feats. That's not the case. We're just reporting on the news. That's all. Or what was
I
news
It makes a
back then.
little bit of sense, right? Like if you want to find out if something's real or not and it's out in the woods, that's the group of people to motivate.
And
Well,
that was the point.
That's why you gotta frame it and be like, use tranquilizing darts and knock it out, and then take it alive, not dead, right? Because
So
you learn
I-
way more stuff. Well, you don't learn like how big their heart is while they're alive, but you can
And what
you can learn
redneck is
other
going to be
stuff
like?
while they're alive.
What redneck is going to be like? Yep, we're going to do that.
I mean, depends on how big the cash prize is, I guess.
That's true. You can't mount it on the wall with tranquilizer darts, you know.
Damn it,
Well, you
Cletus, you
could, but it
blew
would
it
be
up and all we
very
have left
upset.
is a hand.
You could, but it'd be very, very upset.
It's
You
just
have to
chained
keep
there.
the chain up on the wall. That's more redneck. Yeah, sure. This is. I'm gonna transition over to this freaking this quantum object. So, like, quantum entanglement and stuff is still like super new and very difficult. I'll just say it, difficult for me to understand and to wrap my head around. I still think it's all BS because of how like witchcraft it sounds. But that's interesting that if this is true, that they have some kind of an object. They didn't specify what it was. Was it a grain of rice? Was it
So it was
you
a
know, was it
crystal.
a crystal, a spider, perhaps? But that's, big enough for you to hold. Then at what point do we get into the realm of robotic quantum entanglement And then we're sending our own UFOs to an alternate dimension or another solar system and messing with their stuff. You know?
So I actually was looking into quantum entanglement and stuff, and from what I can tell, you can't actually use entanglement to transport objects. Like it can send information, but it's not going to transport objects.
No, that's what I mean. But I
what were
mean,
the s-
we'd send it and then make it do
Yeah,
what we
well,
want it to do while it's there.
what exactly are the signs of quantum entanglement? Like that was so vague. Like they just look at it and they're like, it's entangled with that snap pea over there. Like how do they know?
You gotta read the article. I brought up the article that I used for this particular bit here. Let me share it with you guys. It's a article called, well, that's an
Audi commercial.
That's an Audi
Yeah.
commercial.
Nice.
Schrodinger's anthill, quantum entanglement found in a crystal large
Hey
enough
Jake,
to
does Jeremy's
hold-
internet suck for you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it really?
Yeah. You sound like a robot. You sound like you're quantum entangled.
You sound like Darth Vader having an asthma attack behind a box fan.
Oh.
He doesn't know who Darth Vader is.
Joke's on you.
I read the book.
It's funny because there are books.
He does the Star Trek thing.
Yeah, oh my- Well, we just lost half of our listeners. Thanks, Jeremy.
No,
It's
trust
all right.
me.
We lost the other half when we were talking crap about flat Earth.
Oh, that guy got so pissed.
I knew it was gonna happen, dude. You can't say. I told my coworkers that. I said you could say anything about anything while you're on a podcast. You could say, on Tuesday we should kill everyone wearing a red shirt, and people will be like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I understand where you're coming from." You say anything about flat Earth, and people will like burn your house down and like shoot your dog just on their way out just for the hell of it. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
they go crazy.
I always picture these people like when I read those messages too, because like the grammar is always like god awful and the spelling sucks. So they always have like in my head like the funniest accents, right?
You
Yeah.
should read it in a British accent. Who could do a British accent? I'll bring
Like the backwoods
the
of
comment
Britain.
up.
Like not like a London posh accent, right? Like we want like the redneck backwoods of Britain.
Oh, I think and in it. All those words, right?
Come on, who
or
wants
like whatever the redneck version of India sounds like. That's what that dude's grammar was like.
Yeah. So the guy from Tif Tac,
You mother bitch,
Adam.
mother bitch.
who wants to
Jeez,
read the
that's
comment?
rough. Let's
Nah,
see.
don't give him that much airtime.
Dude, it
I wanna
is
read the comment.
Don't mention his
hilarious.
name and don't read his comment out loud because it'll just encourage people to do that shit.
Uh,
Well, he doesn't even have a name. It's just Kai. KY.
Well, there you go. You weren't
KY
supposed to do that.
Jelly sent us a comment. He said,
Yeah.
you have to do it in
I'm
the
not
accent.
going to do it in a British accent. I
You
can't.
have to.
Can't do it.
Are you like one of those people that start off British and then slowly transition into Australian?
Or
No.
Southern.
I can do a really terrible Australian accent, but
Everybody goes from British to either Australian or really bad like Tennessee.
well, it's because I don't know all the inflections and all the accent notes and what they change with their accent because it does sound different, and I'm gonna piss people off. But
Maybe he talks like Boomhauer. in
I
real life.
rarely ever listen to this show, and now I remember why. You're both as dumb as a bag of bricks. I'd accept that Earth is flat if I saw some evidence. You mean all the evidence? You mean like every possible measurement or criteria there is? You mean how there's zero evidence of the globe, and the globers have to twist themselves into pretzels trying to create said evidence and still fail, where even basic simple tests everyone can do in the backyard or on the nearest shore show the truth, isn't it? It is funnier with a shitty British accent. You're right. I'm cracking up.
But like,
Gotta
you
get
feel like
through
by
that.
like their grammar, like the way they're typing, like you can hear the accent in their text. Like,
Well, I can see that there is very few periods. And then Jeremy's like, well, then come on the show and show us all the evidence then. And I don't know if there was a response after that, but that would be
No,
good.
there wasn't.
Like, but for real though, I mean, we talk a lot of crap about flat earth because I mean, it's easy to talk crap about it, but if you have all of the evidence, or you can demonstrate the evidence, or you can put it into a PowerPoint, or you could film on your phone outside, or anything, or like you have a study or anything like that, we will absolutely have you on the show. The only thing we won't have, like we give the courtesy to all of our guests, is that we will not allow you to come on the show and talk a bunch of shit to us and tell us how stupid we are. But if
Yeah.
you actually have evidence for the flat earth or whatever your thing is, we'll come on the show and we will host you and we won't talk bad about you,
No.
and we will give you a platform to do that with.
He could always just go to the top of the dome and take a photo like everyone else has been. Doesn't the Earth actually look more like a potato than a sphere?
I think it's pear-shaped.
Something like that? Yeah.
I think it's got a fat
It's got a big
ass.
old dumpy, yeah.
Ooh, got a
Yeah.
dumpy on it. Hey,
Yeah.
girl.
That's
But
why the moon won't leave
to
us alone.
echo
He's always like
what
looking from all
Mr.
the
Jake
different
was
angles.
talking about there,
Look at that
I-
thing. Crap.
I agree, 100%. If you have evidence, come on the show. We will be civil. I will listen to what you have to say and probably even get excited about it. But don't just sit there and fucking leave stupid ass comments. I don't care.
Jeremy's going to mute me because I'm 100% going to talk shit if you have the nuts to show up. You already called us stupid, so we get at least one.
No.
Well,
I just mean for like anyone else. Yeah, that
No.
guy's not going to come on the show. I don't want to listen to a run-on sentence out of
K-
his actual mouth. But
Kai's already ruined their chance. Whatever there. Don't hide behind a keyboard. Don't do that shit. All right. You guys ready for the briefing?
yeah,
Well,
I mean-
we have 2 briefings today.
We're hiding behind keyboards.
No, we're not. We're hiding behind from microphones.
right.
Get it right, CJ. You-
Keyboards for the blind?
You
Like,
uncultured swine. Keyboards for the blind. That's messed up.
You can't say
gonna,
that.
Now somebody's going to leave a comment. They're going to be like, my dog's blind.
good.
You know, it's
He can't
when
see
I
your
was
stupid ass.
when I was active duty military, I had a therapist for a little bit who was blind completely, and she still typed in notes on the computer because she did text to speech, so she could hear what she had typed down, and she had mastered keyboarding even though she was blind. So I wouldn't put it past that a good, I'd say, in a percentage wise, but there's probably quite a few people that listen to this show that are actually blind and could type out a really nasty comment for CJ.
Did your therapist say fun stuff like, I can see what you're going through?
No, but she'd do this thing where in her rolly chair she would start kind of drifting till she was staring completely away, like over here, and I'm over there.
dude.
And I'd be like, so anyway, and she'd be like, oh,
She was 100% doing that
she'd
on
just start
purpose.
just drifting, and she would say things like, I'd be like, "Ah, gosh, I woke up this morning and I had the worst hair day. She's like, well, I can't see it, so it's probably great.
And if anybody does want to throw like nasty comments about CJ, first of all, I won't read them. I don't read comments. But if Jeremy reads them to me, I will use them as my personal stenographer, and I'm really good at disrespect.
I don't know what a stenographer is.
It's that person
That's
in
the guy in
court that
court.
types everything.
That guy.
I don't think do they still do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they have to. I think there's, but either way.
It's probably an
Jake,
AI
I'm
bot
told-
now. It's
I'm
like a
totally
drone with
making a.
keyboard.
I'm going to totally make a clip of you saying that entire thing and post it on YouTube.
Great. As long as you put this little section in there, and I can just be like,
All right, let's get into the first briefing. We're already 30 minutes in. All right, let's get into our first briefing. I actually had that in the script. All right, we've been following the story of Melissa Casias since it broke, and we're back on it. The Los Alamos lab worker who vanished in June of last year and whose remains were found in the Carson National Forest back in May. There are 2 updates from the last 2 weeks, and neither one closes the case. First, the family did their own search of the recovery site and turned up additional evidence that state police hadn't logged. Their attorney says it has to be reviewed before the Office of the Medical Investigator can even rule on a cause of death. So that ruling is still pending. What we do know is that the preliminary CT scan of the Casias' skull never turned up a bullet, even though a handgun was found right next to her remains. And state police have now confirmed that the exact spot where she was found had never actually been searched, which contradicts what the family believed for almost a year. Second, And this ties back into everything else we've covered on this case. There's a new detail about Anthony Chavez, the retired Los Alamos HVAC technician who disappeared back in May of last year and whose case was one of the first folded into this broader pattern of missing and dead lab-connected scientists. According to a friend who spoke to investigators, Chavez had been working with the Los Alamos scientists around the time he vanished on the question of whether matter can exist in two places at once, aka quantum superposition. Not some side interest, but literally the research he was doing. So now you've got two people tied to this pattern who were both deep in quantum physics research at the same lab within about a year of each other. We're not going to tell you what that means or if it means anything specific, because we generally don't know. But stack Chavez's research on top of Casias' on search recovery site, a handgun with no bullet ever found, and a congressional letter that already called this whole pattern a grave threat to national security. And the coincidences are piling up faster than the explanations. Jake, CJ, you've both said from the start, this list keeps growing in ways that don't track with these things just happening. Does the Chavez detail change your read on it?
Go ahead, CJ.
All right.
Gosh, does this guy ever shut up? Oh my gosh, just constantly talking. No.
You know, if for now on, I should just put one of you guys there and force one of you guys. I'll be like, CJ, you've been said from, yeah, I'm gonna do that from now on.
Fine. I was letting seniority go first. All right, but freaking no. I mean, if this so she had the handgun, but no bullet was fired from it. Is that what I understood?
There was no bullet in her CT scan.
So it was a handgun, but she didn't shoot herself.
Apparently, yes.
What'd she die from?
That's the mystery.
Imagine going out to the woods to shoot yourself and you die of exposure instead. That's insane.
That's not funny. Not
I mean,
funny.
I guess that could happen.
If it wasn't funny, you wouldn't have laughed.
I didn't.
That's a good point.
But no, like serious. No, but in all seriousness, like it was a joke, but no, it's serious at the same time.
How was she found? Was she found decomposing, or was she found as?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good question.
Because
I haven't really
people
looked into that.
don't always shoot themselves in the head. Unfortunately, you can shoot yourself right in your heart and die pretty much instantly too.
True.
I mean, if it was bones and they could have just picked the skull up and like they wouldn't have needed a CT scan, so it was probably a body.
That's also true. But no, I have not looked into what condition the body was in when it was found. That's a good question.
Yeah, because I mean, so I was just listening to a true crime pod this morning. I only listened to one. I'm not a big true crime junkie, but I do like this show. And they were actually talking about a fact that this serial killer had killed somebody and the body was discovered in such a state of decay that it was impossible to determine the cause of death. So how decayed was this body? I'm with Jake. I want to know that question. I want to know the answer to that first. Did they? How many rounds of ammunition were left in the gun? Was the magazine? What kind of gun was it? Do we know?
Yeah, no, man. I don't know.
Why are there so many questions?
Why am I asking so many questions? I don't know.
No. I mean, like, okay. So, what state of decomp was the body in? What kind of gun was it? How many bullets were left in it? Were there shell casings on the floor? Animals aren't going to, I mean, a crow might come by and pick up a shell casing and leave with it. But like other animals aren't like, ooh, shiny and like taking it.
Crows
The
do rob
body of
people.
Melissa Casias was found in a completely skeletonized state of decomposition. A hiker
need a
discovered
CT
her
scan
remains
for?
in the Carson National Forest in New Mexico nearly a year after she disappeared. Her corpse was propped up against a tree with a handgun lying nearby. So yeah, she could have shot herself in the heart.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's entirely possible. First of all, what do they need a CT scan a freaking skeleton for? There's no point to that.
Even if she shot herself in the heart, there would be evidence of a gunshot wound on the
Broken
skeletal
ribs or a
remains
broken
too.
sternum or something.
Yeah.
Sure. But all this says is that there's no CT scan. Their CT scan of her head found no bullets or signs of being shot in the head.
Again,
It's
like
okay.
not like joking, but not joking. It's a skull. They could have, if it rattled, well, maybe there's a bullet in there.
But then again, I mean, I agree with what CJ was saying, because just because she was found with a handgun on her person doesn't mean that she shot herself at all. She could have just had a handgun. If someone were to pick up my handgun, which I've used recently within the last month, I've shot rounds out of it. Someone could look at the barrel and say, well, a projectile was fired from this. But that doesn't necessarily mean, especially after a year, whether that happened the day I died or that I've just been carrying it and just don't clean it. right?
Yeah, but
So
like
just
what?
having a handgun in the vicinity of my dead body, because I conceal carry dang near every day, doesn't mean that I died in the way of suicide, right? Even if
Right,
it
and
was in
then
my hand, it doesn't mean I died in the way of suicide.
I feel
So
like it's important to
honestly,
know
it could
what
have been an
kind it
animal
is.
attack. It could have been an animal attack, and she could have just had the handgun near her when she died.
I
So
mean,
propped up
she
against a tree is also a good way to die of exposure too, just so you guys know.
she could have brought. I mean, she was going. I'm assuming hiking in a national forest, right? The gun could have been her protection. And what do you mean by exposure?
So if you're, say you get lost in the woods and you're in a now survival situation, the worst thing you can do is sleep on the ground. So she propped herself, it's like say she had the gun for
Oh, you
protection,
mean like a hypothermia kind of thing?
propped herself up against the tree because now you
Yeah.
have a tree at your back, so you only have to watch your front and your sides for animals. If you're sitting directly on the ground will just suck your body heat clean out of you. You need to have something like pine boughs or get up on some sort of platform. Like you never put yourself directly on the ground in a survival situation. You will die of exposure. So then the
I
other
mean,
question again, what kind of gun was it? Was it a revolver? Were any of the rounds used? Was it semi-automatic? How many rounds were left in the magazine? Was there damage to the tree behind her? Because if she was propped up against the tree and shot herself at that point blank range, it's going through her. It's going to hit that tree.
Right. And I
And
agree with you.
a
Like,
year is not long enough for a tree to heal itself without some sort of like, I mean, it might heal itself, but you're still going to see like a knot or something in it where that bullet hit.
plus there's a lot of tests you could do to find a bullet in a tree.
But yeah, like metal detector. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Simple.
No,
I mean, and I agree. I mean, like, I don't know. I'll have to ask, I have to look that up. Like, how many rounds were found in the handgun that she had?
I'm willing to bet that question is not going to be answered. No one's going to provide that detail. But yeah, it honestly, after hearing the details that I have heard, it sounds like, because like your human instinct in those situations, especially if you're scared, is to put something at your back. You don't want to watch your own back. So if you have a tree at your back, you only have to watch 3 directions instead of 4. It sounds like she had the handgun for protection, propped herself up against the tree, passed out, and died.
Law enforcement officials have not publicly disclosed how many rounds were found in the handgun discovered near Melissa Casias' remains. Authorities have only stated that a firearm was found beside her body, but official cause of death has not been released.
That's
So,
really
yeah, I
specific
mean,
that they felt the need to mention that detail, which means somebody else asked the question. Unless
You
that's
know-
the AI response. Was that the AI response?
yeah, it's a summary.
Oh, okay.
I think that I wonder if there was more than one bullet missing, and this looks more like a
something was attacking her or something?
like a self-defense thing, whether it be person or animal.
And maybe she was injured and that's why she propped
And-
herself up against a tree?
Well, you got to look into why would they not disclose how many bullets were missing from the gun. If it was suicide, 1 bullet should be missing, right? Or the clip was completely empty and she only brought 1 bullet.
Well, outside of law enforcement, who's really answering that question? Who's really asking that question, right? Like, I don't think in any of the true crime stories or interviews I've ever heard anyone's ever been like, how many rounds were missing from the weapon? There's been initial, like, how many shots were fired, in like a shooting incident, but like...
It's just it's the roundabout way of asking the same question.
Well, I'm saying it depends on the incident, right? If it's a shooting incident, like somebody's shooting at another person, they'll say 3 shots were fired, right?
Yeah.
But in a suicide situation, they don't say, unless it's that one scientist who shot herself twice in the back of the head,
She was magical.
Yeah, but it does. It sounds like to me, after hearing the details, that maybe she was either tired and lost or injured and propped herself up against the tree and didn't put anything underneath her. The ground just sucked her body heat out.
And
Those
there's a
forests
lot-
get cold at night.
Well, they do. They do.
I've been in that situation where I decided to hike a path that I thought was a lot shorter than it ended up being, to the point where the sun was going down and I was several miles from my truck, and I was like thinking and contemplating the idea of whether or not I just say, screw it, I'm just going to find a place while I have a few hours of sunlight to sleep the night here, or I'm going to tough it out and make it back. And I was exhausted. But I decided, I was like, no, I don't think that I should stay outside. I'm going to just make it to the truck. And I did. And it was freaking terrible. Like I thought this trail was going to be that there was going to be a cut through or something like that. And there might have been, and I missed it. But I ended up finding where you're at on the trail sign. And it said, you are here on this big old thing. And then parking area. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Right. And it's like sun's going down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I ended up using my phone flashlight to get me the rest of the way. And it wasn't like very tree or whatever. It was actually in Southern California. It was just crazy. And I ended up just saying, no, I'm just going to keep going. And I just dealt with the leg cramps and stuff and just made it over there. But I could totally see someone's thinking the other direction and just being like, yeah, I'm not going to go hiking this thing the rest of the way in the dark. I'll just stay here. And if you die of hypothermia because the temperature just absolutely plummets and you're dressed for a day hike in 80 degrees, it'll kill you. It'll kill you really fast. And so I can totally see that happening.
Right.
It got into like the 70s. So I mean, I probably would have been fine. I mean, there's still mountain lions there, but I mean, even still, I probably would have been all right. But I'm glad I made it home.
Remarkably, though, if you sit on the direct ground, here I'll look up exactly what temperature it is. Even 70s, like you can still.
Do you know what the highest temperature the ice can form on the wings of an airplane is? 70 degrees.
No.
70 degrees outside air temperature, ice can form on the leading edges of airplane wings while they're flying.
Okay. So if you're ever in that situation and you have to sleep directly on the ground, if it drops below 60 degrees that night, there's a very good chance you die below 60. And that's not hard to do, especially even in summer. It's not uncommon for nights to go below 60. But yeah, so if she was in those woods and it dropped below 60, you're supposed, I think, you can like pine boughs or whatever on the ground. If you can start a fire, definitely start a fire. And all else fails, get into a tree. Sleep in a tree. You have a much better chance of survival.
Let's get into briefing 2. You guys ready?
Nope.
All right. We've got a second briefing tonight. Let's get into it. This past week, the same House task force that's been pushing UAP whistleblower protections turned its attention to a much older secret, MKUltra, the CIA's Cold War mind control program. Congresswoman Anna Luna's task force on the declassification of federal secrets held a hearing on June 30th titled Mind Control and Accountability, and calling it uncomfortable would be an understatement. Here's the basics for anyone who only knows MKUltra from the true crime shows. Starting in 1953 and running for roughly 20 years, the CIA dosed thousands of Americans with LSD and pushed some of them through hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and electroshock, often without their knowledge or consent. Testimony put real numbers on it. At least 149 sub-projects spread across more than 80 institutions, with 185 outside researchers involved. When the program wound down in the early 70s, CIA Director Richard Helms didn't hand the files over to investigators. He personally ordered them destroyed on his way out the door. Sidney Gottlieb and his team spent an entire day burning 152 files, and Gottlieb then had his own secretary destroy his personal papers before he retired. The head of the CIA's Records Center protested the destruction in writing and was overruled. Luna didn't mince words about what that means. Quote, "That is obstruction of justice. That is criminal destruction of federal records. Nobody was ever charged." Helms received a $2,000 fine for lying to Congress about an unrelated matter and collected his government pension until the day he died. Two details from the hearing pushed the story somewhere new. Luna said her task force has learned of a CIA-run house in Germany where MKUltra subjects were allegedly tortured, and that she's now working directly with members of the German parliament to try to locate remains and identify victims. Separately, a former CIA case officer testifying that day didn't rule out the idea that this kind of research quietly continued after the official program ended. And a CIA whistleblower named James Erdman III testified that roughly 40 boxes of sensitive records, including MKUltra and JFK files, were pulled back from the office of the Director of National Intelligence during an active declassification review. Luna and House Oversight Chairman James Comer responded with a formal letter demanding the records be preserved and returned. Investigative journalist Tom O'Neill also testified, laying out the same MKUltra to Manson connection from his book that kept researchers arguing for years, and historian Stephen Kinsner called what the CIA did to its own citizens medical torture, plain and simple. It's worth thinking of the fact that the same lawmaker running point on this hearing is also the one pushing amnesty for UAP whistleblowers. Whatever you make of Luna politically, she spent this stretch trying to pry open two of the government's most tightly held secrets in the same short window, and that's not nothing. So, Jake, a CIA safe house in Germany, is not where I expected, or not what I expected when I first heard of this story. What's your read on it?
Man, you picked the worst person.
CJ, a CIA house. Somebody answer the fucking question. Damn it.
I mean, the CIA testing LSD on people is not new, dude.
It is not. That is true.
It's not new. This isn't news. I thought we were like a fringe news station. Like, what's going on here?
It is news that they had a congressional hearing about it. It's the first time where they're actually investigating. So MKUltra has been declassified for a while, right? This is something that has been made public, but nobody's ever went to trial for this. Nobody's ever testified about it. This isn't something where somebody was ever held accountable for it. That's what the story is about.
Okay, so we're just going to go back to what we said in a previous episode. The federal government's investigating the federal government? This isn't news. It's not going to matter. This is a smoke and mirrors.
I do agree with
Whatever.
CJ to a point. I'm certainly the furthest from a bootlicker that you could probably point me on. But no, I mean, I'm definitely not a bootlicker. But in some areas, I trust the federal government, just not with like anything that involves investigating anything, because nothing ever comes to fruition. No one ever goes to jail. They're like, man, this person is in charge of, $9 billion worth of fraud. Well, don't do that again. It's like, because it's like they can't prosecute because the person prosecuting is in charge of $6 billion worth of fraud, right? So it's like, they're just constantly going back and forth. Yeah, it's, I don't think anything's going to happen because of it. I mean, for one, it's been such a heck of a long time. I mean, if all the records are gone, or like a lot of them are gone, that doesn't help. People have died, that were responsible for it. It's just going to end up being another one of those things. It's like, oh, we shouldn't do that again. And it's just like, thanks, guys. Thanks. That really helps us, with our vote of confidence for the next election cycle.
The thing that's always got me about MKUltra, like the biggest question I've always had about it is, yes, they declassified it. What secrets are they still holding about it? That's the real question. Like, what kind of fucked up shit? If they came out and said, yeah, we doped up a whole bunch of people on LSD and put them through torture, and the miles long list of shit that they've admitted to, what haven't they admitted to when it comes to MKUltra? It's got to be fucking terrible.
There's been, 2 or 3 generations since MKUltra. What are we going to do? Go up to somebody's great grandfather and be like, you're going to go to jail? And he's like, what? And you're like, you're going to jail.
I mean,
what?
That
like, he doesn't know what
does
the fuck is
happen.
going on anymore.
I've seen people.
It does.
It does, but it doesn't make any fucking sense, especially if the guy's not there enough to understand why he's going the fuck to jail. On top of that, the CIA's done crazy stuff. Like, what was it, 1976? They unleashed a virus in New York just to watch how fast it would spread. And like, it had like no symptoms or whatever. They just wanted to see how many people would test positive for it and how quickly it would move through the population.
Never do that.
And then there was the Tuskegee experiments, and nobody goes to jail for this shit. Like, it's going to be one of those things where they're like, we're investigating it. And then like 6 months from now, someone will be like, aren't you guys investigating that? And they're going to be like, oh yeah. And they're going to be like, what's going on with it? Well, we haven't turned up anything definitive yet. And then they're just going to wait until everybody forgets.
I do agree.
Someone's going to collect a paycheck and not do anything. He's going to play Minecraft in the office all day.
I do agree that it's kind of irrelevant to look into MKUltra now. Yes, unless it's still going on. And there are massive rumors constantly going about how MKUltra never died, about how they are still doing these tests on unwilling participants, and I don't doubt it. I'm not
And
a
if
big tinfoil hat guy, man, but
that
it's
even
one of those things.
guarantees that they won't do anything about it, dude. Because if the federal government is
True.
investigating the federal government already knows what the federal government is doing, and they're just going to be like, well, we're good here.
It is so segmented that the federal government that's responsible for investigating these kind of things definitely doesn't know about it. Like Congress, right? They don't know about it. I can guarantee you that there is so many black budget programs that lack government oversight or congressional oversight, and something like an MKUltra type program would definitely be one of those. I mean, there are so many UFO programs that have been declassified now that lacked congressional oversight, and that's dealing with UFOs. Something as terrifying and evil as MKUltra was, which a lot of people tied to the Manson murders, right? And a bunch of other shit too. If that shit's still going on and they can connect that to a whole bunch of other shit, like mind control shit, not that it actually happened, like that I'm just using this as an example, okay? And I sorry for bringing this up, but Charlie Kirk's murder, his assassination, right? There's a plethora of people that believe that this guy who's on trial, this kid who's on trial,
Tyler Robinson,
is a victim of an MKUltra type program. You could apply that exact same theory to a number of different historical events,
like the JFK assassination. And
Well, let's pretend.
I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, there's a literal shit ton of it.
But then there's an easy path for this too. We'll say the Congress, senators, they don't know that they're performing these experiments. The CIA gets wind that,
What was that?
Senator John Smith is onto them. Headlines tomorrow: Senator John Smith died in his bathtub of a heart attack last night.
Which happens all the time too.
Yeah, nothing is going to happen anyway.
I don't know. I think Luna, she's been so loud about a lot of this stuff. I mean,
But the louder you are, the crazier people think you are. And if you're that loud, people just go, she's nuts.
I think people are waking up to some of the more fringe topics now, man. I really do.
I don't disagree with you, but what I'm saying is the overall majority, like there's like a psychology behind it. It's like when you catch somebody who's feeling guilty and they're lying about something. If you ask one of your kids, dude, did you eat all those damn Oreos before I had a chance to get one? And he's like, no. And you go, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, I'm sure. And you go, okay. And he never brings it up again. Cool. But if your kid spends the next 3 days bringing up these damn Oreos 5 or 6 times, hey, did you figure out who ate those Oreos? He's fucking guilty. He's the loudest one in the group. But like, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? People just assume you're freaking lying because you keep bringing it up, you know? Like, there's a psychology behind it. And the loudest one, they're crazy, they're liars, it's plausible deniability. So if you're loud enough about it, they'll let you alone because the public will just think you're dumb.
I think that perspective is shifting.
I don't know about that, man. People as a vast majority are dumb, right?
Very dumb.
And they're really not hard to convince one way or another. And all it takes is somebody saying something very confidently for them to be like, yep. So if this woman could be screaming the truth at the top of her lungs and someone very confidently goes, liar. And everyone will be like, yep, we agree with that guy. Like, it's just, that's just people. You know what I mean?
He's right. See how confident that guy was? Gosh,
Right.
He has to know what he's talking about.
Right. Like, look at, I mean, like I said, like we can look at children again, right? Because it's like the most basic model. Like when their little friends group that they have, the leader's not usually the smartest one. He's just the most confident,
What are you trying
right?
to say?
And confidence comes from stupidity half the time. Like just dumbassery. It's like the quiet, smart kid who's looking at the rest of the friends group like, this is a bad idea. And they're like, nah, he's got this. And he's like, I'm going home. That was the smart kid, the one that left and doesn't talk to the group anymore. That was the smart kid, the confident one. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
So the one guy at Jonestown that said, you know what?
yeah,
Maybe
right.
we
There was
don't
actually a
drink the
few of them that
Kool-Aid.
did that, and they were like, I don't know, like 20 of were completely alive when people showed up to 1,000 dead people.
Yeah. Like, huh, look at that.
Yep.
We shouldn't have drinking the Kool-Aid. You're
Hey,
welcome.
so you see what I mean then?
A little bit. I don't think it applies directly to this conversation, but I
I
see
say it
the
was very
argument.
rudimentary, but when I'm just saying, like, the CIA will, if anybody catches on them, they'll kill them. If people are loud enough, they'll let you be loud because enough of the majority won't believe you or they'll think you're crazy.
They definitely do a good job at keeping tribalism alive in this world that we live in.
Right.
And they segregate this world by every single possible opinion or difference that there is. So I agree with that.
And then there's always the possibility that somebody catches on to them and they just like slide a big duffel bag of money across the table and they're like, I don't think you saw what you saw. And then he looks at that money and goes, I think you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. And he just takes the duffel bag and leaves. Yeah, we all would. Like, if Jeremy, I mean, if Jake right now walked in on President Trump shaking hands with Jeffrey Epstein while also tucking his package and was like, I caught you. And they slid the duffel bag across the table. Jake was like,
no, I'm a
"Who
man
are
of
you?"
integrity.
And then he'd fucking leave because
As
he'd
a
have
matter of fact,
millions of
so
dollars.
I would absolutely be like, I saw them jerking each other off, and then everyone would be like, who are you? And I'd be like, my name's Jake. And they'd be like, okay, anyway. So I could keep my integrity and no one would be all right. They were docking.
I swear they were
I'll tell the
docking.
story to TMZ and still no one will believe it. 87 people survived Jonestown. So there's 87 out of 900. 36.
And you know what? I bet those 87 people were the 87 people. The other 900 talk shit on. They
36
were like,
were inside of
guy's
the
not a true
Jonestown
believer.
compound when the mass murder-suicide began. 36. Well, yeah, I mean, they were like
Murder-suicide.
making them drink the Kool-Aid if they didn't want to drink the Kool-Aid. So it was a big
Oh,
thing.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, it was.
What are they doing? Like pinching their nose and rubbing their throat? Like,
As a matter of fact,
Get the beer funnel.
it
making
gets
them
even
run on the
worse
treadmill
because
until they
I found
dehydrate?
out
Like, what?
recently because I don't know, I looked things like this up, but they the reason why everyone's kind of facing the same direction and they're all like tucked in and nothing crazy is because that the handlers would maneuver the bodies to make it look like they died peacefully from the cyanide that they just drank so that it wouldn't freak out the other people that hadn't already drank the cyanide into the idea that it's a horrible, excruciating death. Like, it was like, oh, let's just tuck in their arms and legs and get this, horrific face look off their face and stuff like that, so it doesn't freak people out.
Make them smile.
Is it that horrible? I mean, like the only thing that I know about cyanide
it's very
poisoning is what you
painful.
see in movies, and they just foam at the mouth and fall over. Like,
I would imagine it's very painful. It's got to be fucking painful.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of them died
Not great.
looking too happy, and they were like, "Oh, can't have that."
Did you just Google that? I
It did.
I hope it gives you the
Yeah, oh
suicide
yeah,
hotline.
it did. Right at the top.
Like,
Help is
did it?
available. Poison control.
yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What about on a leap year? No poison control then.
If you argue with it, you're like, I'm a podcast host, not trying to kill myself. I just need information.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I'm not answering that
Well,
question.
it's all
I'll just
right. I'm
give you
doing
the-
this on the Infinite
hotline
Rabbit
again.
Hole Google search. So yeah, they can't ever trace that back
There
to
you go.
me on
Good.
my Google.
Good.
I'm just like, don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. I'm not. I just want to know if it's be kind of painful if you did it, just for reasons.
All right. While you're looking that up, you guys ready to get in the deep dive?
I'm not Jake. I'll sacrifice my integrity.
right.
I got an
just
expensive
so
wedding
that I
coming
don't get
up.
a bunch of hate. When I said that thing about the wing leading edges, I meant like ground outside air temperature. It was just some, I don't know, it was like a ADD brain factoid moment that came in. I'm not talking about the temperature outside at 30,000 feet when you're flying in an airplane, not 70 degrees ground level.
Yeah. Jake hates.
I care about not
caring
being
about
called
hate mail.
stupid when I'm not. Ooh,
You
it
mean
took
like the guy
between
that called us
5 and
both
20
gun in a
minutes.
bag of bricks.
Your body starts to convulse, then your mouth fills with a mixture of saliva, blood, and vomit. Then you pass out, then you die. And then your body, because your body is deprived of oxygen. It's a horrific death. This is exclusively about the Jonestown incident. So yeah, so then they would tuck their arms
Oh
and
my
legs in
God.
and turn them over so they were facing the ground and then try to get more people to drink the Kool-Aid to kill themselves. So they could be like, see, look, you just fall asleep. Nope.
They're like kicking the guy under
So,
the table who like
Let's just
did it.
say
It's
that,
like,
that cyanide poisoning is like 100% effective, which it probably isn't, but 36 people in the compound just said, no, I'm not going to do that shit. So yeah, they were the smart ones that walked away, and they're like, "No, I'm not doing that."
I tell you, the rest of them were talking
Probably.
shit about those guys too. I'm telling you, said they were crazy. They
I
were
came
crazy
here
for
for-
not drinking it.
I came here for the drugs and
sex, and the
I didn't
Nikes.
come
All
here
right,
for the
that's all
suicide.
I came here for. Oh, that is a different one. Never mind. You're right. You're
That's
right.
a different one. That's Heaven's Gate.
That's right.
That's Heaven's Gate.
I don't think anyone survived. Drugs, sex, Nikes, and a purple thing to put over my face, a scarf or whatever. All right, we can move on.
Should we do a cult episode where we dive into?
We need to dive into the cult that
a cult.
CJ's followers
Or a
started
cult
for
leader.
him. Yes. Oh, yes.
God, no. Let's
Yeah,
not
but
I want to
nobody-
see the
bring that up.
effigy
Nobody
they
drank
made
the
of your
Kool-Aid
pubes.
then. That's
No.
that's not fun.
There better not be one. I'll tell you what there were. There were phone calls at 2:00 in the morning, and they knew my child's name. It was very upsetting. And an entire successful podcast ended over that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Now you're here with us.
But I do
Nerd.
know a cult leader. I could ask if he wants to come on the show.
No,
We
no,
interviewed him
I'm,
on
I'm,
Mystery Stone.
I'm talking about like where people drank the Kool-Aid, like Heaven's Gate or Jonestown.
We're gonna need a Ouija board for that.
No, we won't.
But how are you gonna interview those people? They're dead.
No, you don't interview them. You just present the story, and then we talk like massive shit, and we express with really dark humor. And
The humor you guys gave me flack for 20 minutes ago.
yes,
Some people
Yes.
survived.
because fuck you.
Yes,
Fuck
some
you,
members
CJ.
survived because they were not present or left the group before the event or were chosen to stay behind. Hey, the comment's coming, but you're going to have to stay here and make
Are
sure
they
that we
still
make it on,
alive?
okay? And he's like, okay.
Are they still alive?
That
Like,
would
would
be
it be possible to have
crazy.
one of them come on the show?
Dude,
I have
that
questions.
would be cool. I wonder if they still got Nikes.
What year's the Jonestown incident?
That wasn't Jonestown. That was Heaven's Gate.
Well, Heaven's Gate. Or what year?
25 years ago.
I don't know. I was gonna say it
Dude,
was
there's
colored
a really
colored
good
photos.
chance those people are still alive. We could probably get one of them to come talk
97.
to us.
Work on it, CJ.
No,
Come on,
I'm
man.
lazy.
There is a
Come on, man.
survivor.
I'm here for the
He was
comic
on
relief.
ABC News in 2022.
Well, he could be on.
We should
Infinite
reach
Rabbit
out.
Hole News next.
We should bring him on. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
We've completely derailed
be
this
really
whole
cool.
podcast episode, but that would be cool.
What's
I don't
his
know, I'll
name?
scrub through and see if I can find.
What's his name?
All
Yeah.
right, you do that. Let me knock out the deep dive.
Oh wait, I don't have access to the Infinite Rabbit Hole email. You guys have to write it.
Nope. I'll give you access.
I don't
All
need
right,
it.
let's go deep. For most of this year, UAP disclosure has moved in bursts. A file drop here, a hearing there, but the last 2 weeks gave us the clearest sign yet that things are shifting from advocacy into actual policy. And it happened on two fronts that together paint a picture of a government opening old files while admitting it still can't explain what's already in them. The first front was Disclosure Forum 2026, held June 25th in the Kennedy Caucus Room of the Russell Senate Office Building, the same room that hosted the Watergate hearings under the banner Humanity at the Edge of Discovery. It was the first of its kind public gathering of sitting senators, House members, whistleblowers, and researchers, and the headline out of all of it was legislative. Senator Mike Rounds pledged to revive the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act, which would build real legal protections for whistleblowers who've been sitting on classified information out of fear for their careers or their safety. Representative Anna Polina Luna went further, saying she's working directly with the White House on a possible amnesty program, an executive order that would grant immunity specifically to people with knowledge of recovered non-human technology, or in her words, alien biologics. A Disclosure Foundation poll released around the same event found 89% of Republicans and 88% of Democrats want the government to release more information about UAP. But the detail that I personally find to be the most eye-opening came from Representative Eric Burleson, who announced that MIT's Lincoln Laboratory has agreed to hand over a recording of a UFO briefing the Air Force gave scientists there 74 years ago. Burleson believes that recording is tied to a series of UAP incursions over Washington, D.C. in July of 1952, an incident we have talked about a lot on this podcast and so well documented at the time that the press nicknamed it the invasion of Washington. Radar operators checked multiple objects over the Capitol and the White House on 2 separate weekends. Fighter jets were scrambled, and the Air Force's official explanation at the time was temperature inversion. Days after the forum, Burleson also went on record saying he's personally seen classified footage in secure briefings, and that reports involving what witnesses call plasmoids are, in his words, increasingly compelling. I see this as a notable since it comes from a lawmaker who's generally taking a skeptical view of extraterrestrial explanations. A 74-year-old classified recording surfacing the same stretch that lawmakers are building legal cover for whistleblowers isn't a coincidence of timing. It looks a lot more like a government getting the public ready for something it's already decided to release. The second front is less about paperwork and more about the airspace itself. Christopher Mellon, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, who's become one of the most credible voices in this movement, was the forum's keynote speaker. And he said incursions over American military bases are a much bigger and much more frequent problem than most people realize. His most striking example, unidentified objects violated the airspace over Langley Air Force Base in Virginia for 17 straight days, forcing officials to relocate an entire squadron of F-22 fighter jets because the base couldn't guarantee it could protect its own airspace. Quote, "If the Air Combat Command at Langley can't control its own airspace," Mellon said, "then you wonder how effectively they could protect Washington." He estimates hundreds of similar incidents occur every year at bases across the country and overseas. In some cases, he says the objects are almost certainly foreign drones, but in others, he's blunt about it. We're looking at technology nobody in the Pentagon or the intelligence community can explain. Put those two threads together, and you get a pretty specific picture. On one hand, you've got institutions like MIT, the Senate, and the House finally agreeing to open up decades-old files and build legal protections for people who know more. On the other, you've got active duty military bases that right now can't keep unidentified objects out of the restricted airspace for over 2 weeks at a stretch. And there's an honest counterpoint worth thinking about before we close this out. As of World UFO Day on July 2nd, the Department of War had not released a single new Pursue file since June 12th, despite officials promising releases every few weeks. And President Trump has never publicly acknowledged or responded to the June 9th Capitol Hill press conference at all. Disclosure isn't just about the past anymore. It's about admitting this is still happening, still unexplained, and still moving slower in practice than it sounds in a press release. So Jake, CJ, if Langley couldn't secure its own airspace for 17 days straight, what does that tell you about the incidents we're not hearing about?
We haven't been able to seal our borders for the last 250 years.
Damn, make this political, bro.
No one's shocked by any of this either. None of this is surprising.
He is a buzzkill.
Such a buzzkill.
Yeah.
What a dick.
I don't know about CJ, you know.
That
That guy's
fucking
dumber
bag of
than a
bricks.
bag of bricks. Well, I have information on the Heaven's Gate thing. Okay, I'll throw this out
Nice.
real
Let's
quick.
go back to the interesting
So
thing.
he's an
Heaven's Gate.
author,
Let's go.
Rio D'Angelo, and his book is Beyond the Human Mind, The Soul Evolution of Heaven's Gate. And if he's an author, it means he might have a publisher. And if he has a publisher, then we could reach
gonna buy
out
that
and
right
get
now.
him on the show.
If he's an author, you can probably just get his
Either
personal
way.
email and email him. It's really
Either
easy.
way,
100%
that would be
correct.
something that would be an individual worth reaching out to. It'd be very neat to have him on the show. And I think,
I agree.
yeah,
Jeff
doubtful.
might even show up for that episode.
No, if he
That's
didn't
right.
show up for this one, he's not
He's
showing up
officially fired today. Done.
for that. I won't let him. What was his name?
Rio, R-I-O, and then
Jeff Fernandez. No, I'm just
D'Angelo,
kidding. What was the other?
D-I-A-N-G-E-L-O. Book is Beyond the Human Mind, The Soul Evolution of Heaven's Gate. Look, I'm going to be real with you. This whole alien thing, UFO, UAP thing, I don't know how many times I can say the same points. I would be very skeptical if they showed bodies because, look, I mean, we have movies where Independence Day just rolled around and I failed miserably. I did not watch Independence Day. But I even still, those puppets or whatever that they had inside the tanks for the Independence Day movie showing the alien bodies look real AF. Like, and that was a movie. Would be very skeptical of if they showed, footage of bodies inside of Area 51 because they can make, the freaking T-Rex from the first Jurassic Park movie. It was an animatronic. It looks real as crap, especially in the rain and all that stuff when it's like, breaking through the top of the car. I mean, there's a reason why that movie is far surpasses in believability than the other movies that are all CGI, right? Because they can make fake things look incredibly real because they are real. They're made out of real materials. It's not, computer graphics and things like that. So I would be very skeptical if bodies were shown, and I'd be even more skeptical if they showed footage of a plasmoid that they could create using CGI to just look like a ball of light or something, right? It's just like, I might be the last person to say, okay, I agree that there's something there and they're real, even if all that stuff came out, where I'm just not going to buy it. Just like what we just talked about, there's tons of people that are really dumb in the country and in the world for that matter. And some people could just hear a politician or some public head and just say like, well, I saw the bodies, and they're like, well, that means they're real. It's just like, I'm just not that guy. But I could be wrong, and I'm able to say that, right? So even if I don't think that it's real, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not, right? Just like I don't think that I have a really hard time believing and understanding and rationalizing quantum entanglement. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's just that can't figure that in my head, right? But if we are to get to the bottom of this and there is something behind it, then yes, protections have to be in place for people to, open that talking point up and be able to come out with the information and not fear getting arrested for it or, quote unquote, lying to Congress, even though that doesn't ever do anything. People lie to Congress all the time. They do lies through omission. They're just like, I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. It's like, okay, well, that's a yes, right? And then that means that you committed a crime, but no one gets arrested. They don't have the bailiff come in there and arrest them, right? It never happens, right? So I don't even see that would occur if someone found out that they were lying to Congress, because it doesn't mean anything anymore. It would mean something if we actually, I guess, acted on the laws that are in place. But if you need added protections to make doubly sure that you're not going to get arrested for, in one hand lying to Congress and the other hand being like, well, that wasn't entirely accurate, we do actually have biologics or whatever, then so be it. Let's do that, because I want the truth too, even if it's uncomfortable, but it better be really dang convincing.
I will stay excited about UFOs and government transparency. I will be even more excited once this recording comes out of them talking about the 1952 UFO incursion over Washington, D.C. That is something, it's one of the best UFO stories or incidents in history. Like, legitimately really needs to be explained better, because it's a true mystery. I mean, this was a widely publicized incident in July of 1952 where the entire area of Washington, D.C. saw these things in the sky, and they were flying over the Capitol building, the White House. The Air Force responded, were unable to catch up to them. Multiple reports of just incredible movements that defy logic in any way, shape, or form. And I know 1952 wasn't the most advanced year for aircraft, but still very clear reports about objects moving 90 degrees and moving Mach 12, right? I love it, but I'm also a guy who really enjoys the topic of UFOs. So take that with a grain of salt.
A whole bag of it.
A bag of salt. Take that with a bag of salt.
So the email that I just linked in the chat is how you get a hold of Rio D'Angelo.
Thanks. I wanted to show you guys something. Let me bring it up here real quick. This is you guys are gonna love this. You can actually get his book on Amazon.
I saw on Goodreads it's rated a 3.0 and no one's written reviews for it yet.
So let me show the screen. Hold on. You can get this for a smooth
That's
$3,000.
Well,
That's
order
it.
me 20.
Oh, and $3.99.
They can't even cover delivery.
So, if you guys want to break the bank, go for it. Only $3,000. Not bad. Not bad. Rio D'Angelo. I actually would love to talk
if
to this
he's
guy.
alive.
I think that'd be a lot
It
of fun.
might be that much money because he's not alive anymore.
I don't know. I've paid some pretty obnoxious prices for books. Never $3,000.
Yes, Rio D'Angelo is alive. His birth name is Richard Ford. He's a former member of the Heaven's Gate cult who left the
Ah,
group
well.
before the mass suicide in 1997 and was tasked with sharing their story.
Well, we should definitely reach out. All right. Well, since you
Look,
guys don't want
I
to talk
care
about
way
UFOs,
more about.
you guys
I
ready for me
care
to
way more about
spit the outro?
the UFO event in the UFOs themselves than about the aliens that I don't think exist. Because I think that the craft are real. They're something, right? They have to be something. But this like back and forth about biologics or non-biologics or maybe they're. It doesn't help when people come out and be like, "Oh, there's 4 different classes. There's insectoids and reptoids and plasmoids, and then the grays." And it's just like, okay, it's just like, well, then show it. It's just like, ooh, can't do that. And it's like, well, then shut up. I care way more about the physical things that are in the sky, that are over the towns, that are flying through the countryside, that are doing all these things versus this back and forth on like, there might be confirmed biological samples taken. And what does that look like? Is that a full ass body? Is that a fingernail or is that something else? But I'll probably care more once it happens. But I feel like over the last several weeks, it's been very kind of toying with the idea of it. And I'm still on the edge of my seat in the same way, or at least, no, that's the wrong wording. I'm still reserved in the same way that I was when they were going back and forth about the whole idea of disclosure. But then it actually happened or started happening. So I could have a misplaced skepticism or reserve in the thing because maybe once everything's in place for these people to come out and say, hey, here's the evidence, or bring a skeletonized body out on full display that can be studied by the top scientists in the country or whatever, right? That'll be a different thing than this back and forth of just like, is there bodies? Well, I've seen bodies. I've seen videos of the bodies. And it's like, okay, well, then show us. It's like, oh, the protections aren't there yet. It seems strange. Like they're, biding time buying time to then make something that can then be displayed as this is the body that we've recovered for like a mass fooling.
I'm with Jake.
Right.
Give us something definitive
'Cause
or
it's
shut
like-
the fuck up.
It's like I start to feel like they're just, they're buying time to then make something that they can put into a giant test tube and then mass fool everybody and be like, here's the aliens.
Remember that example of the kid and the Oreos earlier? How they keep bringing
Yeah.
stuff up?
Wow.
Because they're just lying to us about things. Give us something definitive or shut the fuck up.
I agree only in a sense of I'm done waiting, but I still find plenty of excitement in reading about this every day when I wake up. Love it. Absolutely love it.
I don't know where you're finding news on this either, because I read the news every single morning when I wake up. It's like my morning routine. 20 minutes in the morning, I'm just kind of like getting my eyes adjusted to existing again. And I'm scrolling through the news, and all I see is this war on Iran stuff. I don't see anything about the aliens.
Well, of course,
Why
it's not
not?
going to be front page stuff. But you can Google anything that I talk about on these episodes and find it.
It takes about a week. You have to get the algorithm to start pushing this stuff to you.
Oh,
on your
trust me,
news
I see
page.
stuff that I don't care
Yeah,
about.
I've also
like
got a bunch
headlines
of-
about Kylie Jenner. I'm like, I don't care.
So the thing is it tracks your eye movements and all
Better
that
not be
mess.
tracking my eye movements. My eyes go everywhere.
No, your phone do. So like if you were scrolling through your news feed and your eyes stop on a news article, your phone knows what news article you're looking at, and it'll add that to its algorithm.
What if
I'm
I
trying to
cover up
find
the front-facing
mine to
camera
kind of like show you.
for a month? I wonder if things would change.
Mm.
I'll do that
Do
right
the
now.
experiment. Let us know. Let's see if that happens. Well, like I said, it takes about a week to get this stupid thing to tailor your algorithm. I'm trying to figure out. I know that there's a news page on mine. I'm trying to figure out how to get to it. Like, see, like here's mine. Like, it wants to tell me stuff about solo leveling and a kidnap and Lego and stupid stuff with AI. A Grand Canyon mystery illness reportedly triggers NPS investigation. Some shit about superheroes. More anime. Kagurabachi. Hold on.
All right. Can I?
Okay, nice.
Let
But,
me do the outro. Let's get out of
That,
here.
like it knows what you want to look at, so that's why it's tailoring that to you, and that's why Jeremy has an easy time getting to it.
I also have it set up so that whenever anything like that falls under certain topics or categories, it kind of puts it into a bank for me where I can just kind of read it. It was a long setup, but it's pretty cool. Just put a bunch of
You can
keywords
figure out
and
how to
shit.
do that, but you can't figure out how to use Discord properly.
No way. I bought this Stream Deck like 2 years ago, and I still haven't figured out how to use it yet.
You paid for a Stream Deck? You're crazy.
Yeah, I did.
Just get a companion app and make your phone emulate one for free.
Yeah, but it doesn't have buttons like this. This has actual buttons. I can push this button and it does something. It's cool. All right.
Yes.
Ready for the outro?
I
Can we do the
guess.
outro now? I'm tired. All right. That's tonight's episode of Infinite Rabbit Hole. In quick hits, we covered Spud Cell, the first artificial cell with a complete life cycle built from scratch in a Minnesota lab. A Michigan man's claim that Bigfoot's DNA came back part Neanderthal. Skinwalker Ranch circling back to the bubble after a shaman ceremony lit up the instruments, and 2 separate quantum physics experiments, one making time run backward, one finding entanglement inside a crystal you could hold in your hand. In briefing 1, we went back into the Melissa Casias case, new evidence at the recovery site, a cause of death that's still pending, and a fresh detail about fellow missing Los Alamos worker Anthony Chavez, who spent his final weeks researching whether matter can exist in 2 places at once. In briefing 2, we covered the recent congressional hearing on MKUltra with new numbers on it, just how far the program reached. Director Helms ordered to destroy the files, and Congresswoman Luna's claim that a CIA safe house in Germany may hold the remains of some of the program's victims. And in the deep dive, we covered Disclosure Forum 2026 and the whistleblower protections now moving through Congress. MIT Lincoln Laboratory's decision to release a 74-year-old recording tied to the 1952 UFO incursion over Washington, and Christopher Mellon's account of a 17-day UAP siege over Langley Air Force Base that the Pentagon still can't explain, all while the actual files releases have gone quiet for a month. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please subscribe to Infinite Rabbit Hole wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a rating and review. You can also find us on infiniterabbithole.com, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. One more time, on July 18th, I'll be at MUFON, Wisconsin, meeting at the Waukesha Airport. And on July 24th and 25th, I'll be at Elmwood, Wisconsin's UFO Days, presenting and leading bus tours throughout the day. We're back next week with another briefing on the unexplained. Until then, keep your eyes open, keep asking questions, and remember, the truth is out there. You just have to know where to look. I'm Jeremy Sosha, and we'll see you in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.
The Earth's a globe and it's hollow.
Bye.
Fuck you, Kai.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.